All right. Hey. How y'all doing? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everybody who is at the sound of my voice. It's Talk It Out Tuesday. So welcome. Tori and I have another conversation that we're going to have with you here today that we really need to have. And this isn't one of the gossipy type of conversation. This isn't necessarily one of the fun conversations, but it's definitely a conversation that you need to be a part of. A conversation that not only are we happy that you clicked on, but you need to have some people click on it. Yeah. Silent workplace battles. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to have an honest conversation about the challenges that Black women face in the workplace. And that includes workplace bullying by senior executives, because it happens. You know that it happens. There are some people out here that is happening too. You might be one of the persons who happens to be listening and it's happening to you. I want to get you in here and I want to allow some people to get in here because this is a conversation that I want us all to chime in on. We need to. There's a discussion that so many of us are not having. So many of us are suffering in silence and people just do not know. Black women are facing all types of challenges in the workplace. Bullying by senior executives. They're having anxiety, they're having depression, they're losing their jobs. So I want us to discuss the importance of creating a safe place for us to foster a community of support that empowers us, that empowers Black women by amplifying these whispers of strength. And let us break the silence. That's what I want us to do today. Come on in here. Come on in here. This is an important conversation. And we got to say this because this isn't a battle of the sexes. It certainly isn't that. I imagine that there are men in the workplace, Black men in the workplace as well, who deal with a lot of this. And so I know that they're going to be able to chime in and that they have some feelings about it. So before we get into the conversation, you know what I like to do here? I like for us to kind of breathe into our conversation. Breathe. It's lunchtime. Yes, it is. And we're taking this time for ourselves. I've changed the name of the podcast. We've got a new name. Let me let you guys know that there is a new name here. This is it. Feelings or Facts Podcast. Feelings or Fact Podcast. We'll talk a bit about it more. But what I want us to do now is I want us to get into a little bit of breath work. All right? Let's do it. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. I don't want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Didn't that feel great? Mm-hmm. Indeed, indeed. We got a conversation here, guys. We've got a conversation that we need to be having here today. Silent workplace battles. Silent workplace battles. I'm going to bring Tori in to the conversation, and then we'll get right into it. How you doing, Tori?
What's up? How are you? How was your MLK weekend?
Uh, good. Good. Good
Great.
weekend. Did what I needed to do for the day. I'd like to think, I'd like to think that, I'm always doing something positive for myself, for someone else. And that's one thing that I know MLK would do. He would do something that was selfless, do something for someone else. So I feel good about that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hmm.
Awesome.
We got a serious conversation here today.
Absolutely. This is actually, listen, when I didn't hear about this story, and when you sent the video to me earlier today, I was getting updated with and familiar with the story. And when I tell you it was very hard for me to watch the video you sent me. I watched the video with so I think you sent me two. I'll end up watching the one that was like 27, almost 30 minutes long with Roland Martin.
Hmm.
And watching that video was so hard because it was like a trigger for me. Uh, and it saddened me that a life was ended because of the workplace bullying. But
Right.
those that don't know, that may not be aware, because you are familiar with the story more so that I have been. I just heard about it today when you shared it with me. Bring people up to speed with the what we're referencing, but well, how this topic came about.
Okay. Uh, I think they're able to see. I'm sharing the screen now, and I'm sharing here from NBC News. So, we have Antoinette, um, Candia-Bailey here, and her life ended on last Monday. And the cause of it, which was very, very heartbreaking for me, was workplace bullying. And I'm not going to read the whole article. I know a lot of people have had the opportunity to hear of it, and if they haven't, I would encourage them to just do a little bit of homework. It's not going to take a whole lot of digging. Just look it up. But I'll read a bit of the article. Okay, so the president of Lincoln University in Missouri was placed on paid leave on Friday after students and alumni called for his ouster following a senior administrator's death by suicide this week. All right. The article also goes on to speak a little bit about it, but I want to, just give an honor and a little bit of respect to Antoinette. If we could just take a little moment just a little moment of silence for her, that would be great for her family. She was the vice president of student affairs, and she took her own life. Her mother and husband told NBC News in interviews Friday. She was 49. They said that she had been terminated by Mosley on January 3rd. The school did not respond to a request for comment, but Candia-Bailey's termination was, in the termination, she was referred to as a beloved alumni and leader. So that in itself is very interesting. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Like I said, do a little bit of the homework for yourself. Read the emails that she had written, because I feel like that would give you a lot more context of how she felt. So although the school is not really responding. The university board is not responding to anything specific. Her friends and her family are speaking out. Some of the students are speaking out because she was loved at the university. And for me, I felt like when I heard this, I'm like, geez, this pushed her to take her own life. But the thing about it is, this is not unique, Tori. We hear about this and we know women, and a lot of us probably have experienced some of the same things in the workplace. So that's why I really wanted to talk about it. But you know what I'm saying? The thing that's sad is that we suffer through these things with senior executives bullying us, making us feel inferior for whatever those reasons are. And then we're told and we're taught to be the bigger person, that we can work through it. You leave what happens at work. But let's be honest. You can't do that when you're being bullied. And it almost, when you say being bullied, it almost gives a childlike feeling to it. But it isn't. And this is happening in workplaces. This happens. You have bosses who are, believe it or not, you can have bosses who are intimidated by your education level, the way that you are loved by fellow employees and co-workers, and particularly in her space of academia where there were students, they liked her. And sometimes that's not a good thing for a boss. If you go in a place and you're shining that bright, sometimes that intimidates people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, when you was talking, this whole time you was talking, I was just like, breathe in, Tori, breathe out. 'Cause like I said, it's a trigger for me, and I've experienced this in a workplace, and it's, for me personally, my personal story, it was to the point where the bullying was so extensive till I would literally throw up every morning before I went to work. I'll wake up like clockwork, 5 o'clock every morning, literally throwing up before I went in the door. And it was just a lot of taunting, even from uh, coworkers, supposedly my peers, even the peers got the managers. It was bad because it's like everybody was against me, and it was to the point where they would be taunting in my face, and I'm one of those people. I don't like confusion, and I sucked it up, and it got to the point where I got sick, and I had to leave that workplace because it affected my health that much. And I remember leaving one day to go to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, my doctor was like, "Why is your blood pressure so high?" So when I went, he was like, "I got to take you out of work." And so when I went back to let them know that my doctor was taking me out of work, how about this? I got written up right before I went on leave.
Are you serious?
Yes, I got
Well,
written up. Yeah,
you know what? I'm asking you, are you serious? And I know that you're serious.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you'll have these senior executives and bosses and people in these positions who oftentimes are too cowardly to let you go because they know they're letting you go for some superficial and selfish and maybe egotistical reasons, perhaps. And they're not brave enough to just go ahead and let you go, and they start doing things that force you out. So they feel like, okay, well, if I can't fire you, I'll make you want to leave. And then you also have these situations where, diversity and inclusion could play a role because they might know, like, hey, it's not going to be a good look for me to let this person go. This isn't going to be a good look. So what are some things I can do to kind of force this person out? And that becomes their strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't have a strategy for ourselves to cope. We don't have a strategy to there's well, let's think about this. Here's what I want to say before we get so much into the strategy. When you find yourself in that particular situation, where do you even go? Because let's be honest. This was the president of the university.
Mm-hmm.
So most times senior executives, and particularly the president, and I hate to say this, but I think we need to be honest, they have relationships with HR.
Yes.
So where are you going to go? Who are you going to talk to? Who is going to hear what you have to say? So like everything is on you, you
Yeah,
know?
it really and truly is. And that was the issue. Like in my case, like who like they have a personal relationship, and they were actually had close relationship with people in HR. So of course everybody gonna be looking at me crazy. And so that's why I made the choice to suffer in silence. And by me suffering in silence, it affected my health.
Listen, there's a woman right now sitting at her desk
Hmm.
who is suffering in silence. And ever since this story came out, I kind of spoke out on it immediately. It just touched me immediately. I don't know many people who could see this
Hmm.
could not, be touched by it in some type of way, you know? And, I made a post about it. And so in making the post, you have interaction with whoever is engaging with you on your posts. And I do that often because I want to know what people are feeling about it. So by the time I'm ready to have the conversation on the podcast, by the time I have had an opportunity to digest it, well, let me hear where people are coming from. And also just give them an opportunity to say what they need to say, and also that provides an opportunity for people to read like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. Let me see what people are saying. Let's see what's going on. So you have that. So there's several different ways of communicating. And what I said was my original post, and I made a post about it 2 days ago. I said, I feel the type of way about Dr. Bailey from Lincoln University being bullied and undertaking severe mistreatment in the workplace. If anybody wants to talk about it, let me know. I'll be having the conversation on Tuesday. I'm disgusted. Saddened is just not enough. And I had quite a few people who came on and they actually, they made comments on the post, right?
Hmm.
Not only that, but I also had a number of women, Tori, who sent me private messages.
Wow.
And to say that, it's hurtful, it's
Hmm.
hurtful. It's hurtful. I want to read some of the messages here that are on the post.
Okay.
All right. So we got a message here. A comment from Keisha LaShawn. She said, I read about her yesterday and I was saddened to hear about this. There are so many people that are staying silent and not standing up for themselves. We must know our worth and have various skills. It's okay to walk away from people and places that are harming you. Okay, guess what? We hear that, right? And we know that. We've heard that many times because we are taught to be the bigger person. We're taught, like, okay, stand up for ourselves. Okay, well, sometimes you're in a situation where you can't.
Hmm.
And then she also said that it's okay to walk away from people and places that are harming you. And that is true. That is true. But let us ask this question. What about you're the breadwinner in your home and that is your livelihood and you need your job? What happens? Are people thinking about that? That leaves you that's where that pressure and that depression and anxiety comes from right there because you've got a distinguished job. People in your family are looking at you, and they're they're proud of you, and this is what's going on in the background.
And that was my thing. I'm like, I can't say nothing. I suffer inside. I can't speak up for myself because I already know if I say what I really want to say, I'm going to lose my job. And I
Right.
need my job. And I'm, being raising a son, I need my job to make sure I'm able to take care of my child. So I was like, man. So,
Absolutely.
so it was just terrible. But mm,
Listen, my response to Keisha was, I was like, "You're right." I told her, I said, "You're right." Even and especially when it's a difficult decision, it's a lot easier when you have support, which is easier said than done because who takes care of you and your family financially certainly plays a significant role. These overseers are horrible and they know when they have folks up against the ropes. And
right.
that's what makes this so incredibly disheartening, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I'm sad that she had, it was so bad to the point where she took her life. And like I said, in my case, I got sick. And had I stayed, I probably would have been, it probably would have been a similar situation. That's how bad it was for me as well. But I physically got sick, and my doctor would not refuse to let me, go back. And they kept calling because, a workplace is not going to hold your job but so long. So while I
Right.
was on leave, they were like, you kept asking me toward the time because when you're on leave, I know with my particular job, the leave times are usually 3 to 6 month increments, and toward that maybe that 4.5, 5 month mark, they're calling me, Tori, you coming back? And I already knew that last time because I actually, trying to be honest with you, actually had to take 2 leaves from this particular job. And the first time, when I went back after the 6 months, I was on the doctor had me on abbreviated days. Like I wasn't working a full 8 hours. I was working half days. And I started getting sick again. So he took me out. And that last time he took me out, and they were calling like toward that 4.5, 5 month mark, like coming back to work, I already knew. I was like, no, I can't go back. And I talked to my doctor about it. It's like, I don't think that it's in your best interest to go back because it's definitely affecting your health. So I just made a choice that, didn't go back. And then the crazy thing about it, I had the opportunity, when I talked to some upper level execs and CEOs, and it's like this last lady I spoke with, Tanya, it's like she knew that there was something going on
Hmm.
because she specifically asked me, she was like, is there anything you need to tell me? And I was like, no. It's like she was literally trying to pull it out of me. And I,
Right.
and she was like, no. She said, are you sure? And I'll be honest, she was an African American woman, and it's just like she just felt it, and she just kept asking. She asked me like 2 or 3 times. She's like, "You sure?" And my thing was, I didn't want to cause names or anything because
Yeah, but why? Why are we doing that? Why? These people are bullying us, right? You're being bullied in this position. And
but
you are thinking about their feelings. Why, like, why do black women
honestly,
do this?
honestly, that's it, Tanya. I was thinking about their feelings. Not only was I thinking about their feelings, but one person in particular that really bullied me. I'm thinking of the fact that you got small kids at home. And I didn't want her to lose her job because she had small kids. And I'm like, if she loses her job, then she's not gonna be able to take care of her kid. I'm thinking about all of it. I'm like, I don't want nobody to lose their job because that's gonna mess up their livelihood. So
But they're not thinking about you and your livelihood.
no,
They're not.
it wasn't. But
They're not. I had um, a DM message where this one particular young lady, she is in a position of feeling a lot of these things as well,
mm-hmm,
and happens to be higher educated
mm-hmm,
than the senior executive, that she has to report to. And I just read through some of her story, and to be honest, all of the stories sound so very similar. It's all like one big story. It sounds like yours. It sounds like Antoinette's. You know,
Yeah.
they all sound so very similar. Is someone being intimidated by them in a workplace for some particular reason. And then the women take this on themselves. They want to be the one to try to ease it or try to make it work. And how does that become? Because you would like to think that it would be the executive, your boss, who is trying to make sure that it's a good work environment. And they're not doing that. They're pushing you out. Now also on the post that I made, there was a man that responded, and his name is John Hicks. Let me read his comment here. He says, she was at an HBCU, and the bigger conversation is, how does a Caucasian athletic director become president of a university? The often difficult and challenging work environment is an African American majority setting. The wisdom and the politics of disclosure of mental health issues in the corporate workplace. So he lists, 3 things that he felt like were things that could be pulled from this, that were conversations that we could have. But his first question was, and it's a very important question, I'd like to know this as well, is how does this Caucasian athletic director become president of a university? Now, yeah, there are Caucasian people who are presidents of HBCUs. I'm sure it's happened before. But he was an athletic director. That kind of makes me say, more so than the fact that he happens to be white. But it's really, really crazy. It's Talk It Out Tuesday, guys. It's Talk It Out Tuesday. We are talking about bullying in the workplace. It happens. And it happens a lot with women of color. But what are we doing about it? What are some of the personal narratives that you guys might want to share? If you've got something that you want to share, go ahead and get in the comments with us. I see we got Amina in the house with us. How you doing, Amina?
What's up, Amina? And Amina says, just tuned in, and this topic is so relevant. I went through some things on my last place of employment, and it literally left me spiritually drained and spiraling emotionally. Let me tell you something. I felt that, like, because this is a thing, like, with what Amina said about the spiritually draining part. It was so bad that I had like prayer books on my desk. I had like, there was this Christian bookstore that used to have like the scripture stones. I had all these scripture stones on my desk. I went to a department where I was listening to music, but the music was so, I would try to drain out stuff behind in the background, but they still would do stuff to taunt me. And it was just so bad. I had scriptures everywhere, but I was like, Lord, this is not working. And there's a scripture in the Bible. I can't remember exactly where it is in the Bible, but it shows even in Jesus through he turned over tables. There was one particular day where I definitely wanted to turn on some tables. But I said, Tori, if you flip out, if you start throwing things, you definitely gonna lose your job. So keep your cool. But it was to the point where my chest started pounding. It's like I was about to have a doggone heart attack. And I remember one time in particular, they had to call EMS to come get me because I started having chest pains. My vision went out. I was blind for like a few minutes because my stress level went that high. And I had to go to the emergency room. And I was like, you know what? This ain't it. This
You
is
know
not.
what? That's crazy because I hear when you're saying that you put the scriptures around you, and it's like we're always trying to come up with strategies of empowerment for ourselves, which you should. But in this particular case,
Yeah.
I don't even like putting that in this conversation because why are we looking to strategize and cope with people in these particular situations? Because it's not effective. You cannot overcome that. Overcoming workplace bullying is not something that you just build a resistance to. How do you build a resistance to that?
Right.
How do you do that? And what kind of support is out here? Because like we say, when they've got a certain level of when they're in a certain level of position,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
they're going to have relationship with HR. So you really feel like you have nowhere to go. But community support, I feel like is something that we need to kind of figure that piece out a little bit. I feel like that might be important because I feel like you need somewhere to, you need to be able to talk. You
Yeah.
need to be able to get that off your chest. Yeah, you're feeling frightened, but you've got to be able to talk and figure out a plan of getting you out of there. And then I also think about this. I said, okay, well, we're thinking about a plan of getting this person out of there, but what happens when you enjoy what you do? This lady, the students loved her. She liked where she was. She wasn't even there a year.
Mm.
She started in May, so it hasn't even been a year.
Mm.
Don't quote me on the date, but I know she hadn't been there a year.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really crazy to me. I see we've got some comments coming through. Let's hear what people are saying about this here.
Reggie, what's up, Reggie? Reggie says protection of the perpetrator is deep psychology of that thought process. Wow. Listen, Reggie, that when I read your comment, I'm like, that is so crazy
Hmm.
that we protect the perpetrator.
We
Like,
always do.
why?
We do because you're more thoughtful than the bully. That is why.
Mm, wow. And Amina says, eventually I resigned because I felt it was best overall. It's hard to keep showing up to a place where you want to serve, but you're being negatively impacted daily. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and there's no way to sugarcoat that or say it in a different way.
Yes. And Kimberly says, Tori is an example of someone having to do so much work just to be at work. Sad.
Ooh,
Let me tell you.
say that. Ooh, read that again. What? Listen.
Ooh, Tori is an example of someone having to do so much work just to be at work. Sad.
And that's a lot of black women. Like when she says, Tori, you are talking about so many women that you have no idea of. They're going to work. You're thinking like, oh, she got this nice job. She's doing this. And you don't even know the hell she's going through to sit at her desk.
Mm,
Imagine imagine, your boss being so intimidated by you. Now, granted, you
mhm.
go into a workspace, you can't outshine your boss because they've got an ego just like you've got an ego, right? Everybody's got a little ego. Let's be honest about it.
Right,
But it shouldn't be to the point of bullying.
right. And the crazy thing about that, when you put in the scenario with the boss, that particular position that I had, the young lady that was over us, you're in a higher position. You're making more money than we are. But guess what? You know absolutely nothing.
And
We're
that
yeah,
is the problem.
too.
That is the problem because you have something on them. They know it's that imposter syndrome.
Mm,
Just like I said, some of these black women are in the, because black women, a lot of the times,
mm,
especially when we're talking about corporate America, we're talking about academia, like they are degreed up. They got master's and doctorate degrees because they have to have that. Whereas they might have a counterpart who doesn't exactly look like them
mm-hmm.
and they're not as educated, but they have the position.
Right.
And then you've got them doing, as always, most of the work and
Mm-hmm.
not being paid like
Mm-hmm.
their boss. And their
Mm-hmm.
bosses know that. They know that they don't know what these women know, and then they're giving them hell because they're intelligent. Imagine that every day.
Mm.
Imagine that every day. That is absolutely bananas. Absolutely. I see you got your girl in here.
What's up, cousin Doretha? She said, I'm late, but I'm here. Thank you so much for joining us, Doretha.
Mm-hmm.
And Amina says, ooh, doing so much work just to work. That's why we be tired before we clock in and wore out when we clock out.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
And then you've got to go home and you got to love your family.
mm-hmm.
You can understand that, hey, you
Hi,
don't want to put
Lindsay. Go ahead.
you don't even want to put that on your family. So I can understand why sometimes people don't talk about it. But we have got to make that a conversation, which is what we're doing now. Hey, Lindsay.
And Lindsay says, "Hi, ladies. That is so true. Absolutely. I mean, it. Whew. Like I said, I haven't. When I was like I said when I was looking at the video this morning, oh my God, I was triggered because Tanya, I haven't talked about this in years. Like when I left that workplace, I did not look back,
Hmm.
and I haven't spoke on it since. And so when I was looking, I was just so heartbroken, very heartbroken. I was like, man.
Let me ask a question because there's some things that we need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
If this lady's life should be respected
Mm-hmm.
enough for those of us who feel like we're touched enough to have this conversation in our spaces
Yes.
with and among each other. Doesn't necessarily have to be online like this, but this helps because I often feel like by us doing this, this is a conversation starter for you to have in your direct community and spaces. So,
Yeah.
what I want to ask is,
Mm-hmm.
in what ways do you think that workplaces could better support individuals who are facing bullying, and especially when it intersects with issues faced by us as Black women? Like, what are some things? And I want people out there, you guys get in the comments and let us know what you think. You know, what are your feelings? Let's put some of it out here. All right. So, in what ways do you feel workplaces can better support women who are facing bullying? And let me say individuals because men face this too,
Mm-hmm.
but especially when it intersects the issues of what we go through as Black women. How can they support us in a
Whew.
way that makes us feel supported?
Mm. I'm trying to brainstorm right off the bat. They have to be some type of programs implemented. And that actually, you know how when you get on these jobs and you're in a like a 90-day, some jobs depending on the job, 60-day to 90-day, they call it a probationary period. There should be something implemented where there are programs in place where that you can actually because I know they had like the counseling thing, but there needs to be some type of program when situations like this happen where you can actually talk to someone and remain anonymous.
Ah, yes. I
You,
like that.
yeah, they got to be something where you can remain anonymous. Because, like I said, that was when I was asked about my situation. Because, like I said, I felt she knew something was going on
Hmm.
because it was to the point where it was affecting. I
Of
was at
course,
the job.
well,
It was affecting my production. I wasn't.
listen, let's be real. Of course she knew. She was trying to give you the out and opportunity to tell her. You just refused.
Yeah.
But I see Lindsay here. She says HR, and we know that that's not the best answer. That is what HR should be there for. But what happens when it's happening so high up that you know the relationship that this executive has with HR,
Mhm.
it's not going to go anywhere for you. It's not. And we've got to realize that. So I feel like what you said, Tori, in respect to there needs to be an anonymous way of doing that, I think it should be. I think there should be a time, like a certain period of time where there is an anonymous critique of the executive, and it needs to be on an ongoing basis because some people might not want to tell at certain times because everybody processes things differently, like what we're seeing and
Right.
what we're hearing here right now. But allow people to do that anonymously because you'll get better feedback. I
Yeah.
see that Kimberly has something here.
And Kimberly says, have an external HR person, someone impartial to anyone who works on site. Yeah.
That, and I feel like that person is the one who should actually go through the anonymous critiques.
Yeah. And Amina says, jealousy from your superiors is an unfortunate reality. I thought for sure someone would advocate for me, but nope. And sadly, I didn't advocate for myself. I'm an entrepreneur now, but if I had to do it, yeah.
Let's stay. If she had to do it again, let's stay right here a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because she's a young lady, you know, a relatively young woman here, and she
Mm-hmm.
says, you know, jealousy from your superiorities are unfortunate, but it is a reality, like she says, and she thought that someone would advocate for her, and they didn't.
Whew. Mm-mm.
Because guess what? When you have a bad boss, trust me, you're not the only person in the office who knows that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's be honest about that too. There's
Yes.
people who know that. But the same situation that you are in, those people are facing as well. They cannot lose their job. This is their livelihood, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
People actually make you hate your career because you're dealing with, you know, the insecurities of a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you'd like to think that someone's going to advocate for you. You'd like to think that if everybody knows that, okay, we've got this boss in here who is not treating us right, who is talking to us like with no manners. I don't want to say what I was about to say. I had to curb because I was about to cuss. I'm trying not to cuss as much, Tori. I'm trying now. I ain't going to stop cussing completely, but I'm trying.
Yes.
But, you know, when they're talking to you like they have no sense, you know, just degrading you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everybody knows it, and the boss does this to everybody, and everybody accepts it. That's why no one's advocating. That's why no one's advocating. She finished here and she said if she had to do it again, she would speak truth to power.
Yeah, I would also. And the reason is I talk to a lot of people who go to work every day but hate going to work in order to pay their bills. They go every day and hate just being there. Right. They like they already like they hate their job so much they already thinking about tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
when you go in on a Monday and you already ready for the weekend, like that's crazy.
Hmm.
But I
Got to.
but I've been there. Oh my God, it's the worst. And
Okay.
yes, it says contacting a hotline outside of HR.
Yeah. I think that's a really good idea. And that we've got to find ways of that being implemented. But it's a shame.
And Doretha says these jobs nowadays just don't care as long as they got a body there. It doesn't matter. You know what? I'm glad she said it because here's the thing. Um, this is the thing that we also have to realize. That's why I regret that I didn't speak up because you can be on these jobs and you could be giving your all for these jobs. And there was a particular person that busting their tail on this job, but the job was stressful. The person ended up passing away. All the company was concerned about was we need our computer because this person had actually went home. The company was concerned about they need a computer so they could fill that position.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah. Listen. Woo. Let me ask this here, okay? Because we're having the conversation, but do you feel like these recent headlines and high profile cases are going to have any influence on workplace culture? Do you think any changes are going to be made? We know that they need to be made, but do
Mm-hmm.
you feel like any changes are going to be made?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Right. See, you feel like they won't. And I feel like that is going to be a popular answer. But that's not the answer. And I don't know how we can get to it. I really don't. But like I said, we know that it's not going to help because first of all, they're not going to push out the executive who doesn't look like you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Becky is going to keep her job even though she's treating you bad. They'll get rid of you and replace you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to be done to another person, you
Yeah.
know? So you got to think about that. And matter of fact, not we have to think about that. We do think about that. That's the horrible part. But you look at the president from Harvard, which is another. I mean, these are different cases, obviously, because she was the president, but she was pushed out of her position with the credentials that she had and had to deal with a lot of adversity and pushed out of her position. Very qualified woman who should still be where she was. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. We're always thinking about everybody else.
Right. Amina says, I think these companies need to do regular trainings to ensure an understanding of appropriate workplace behaviors and host events to foster positive team culture.
That sounds so beautiful. But the horrible thing for me is, how does a person get to senior level positions and need to be trained on how to treat people? Just on a very basic, you should have learned how to treat people when you were in kindergarten level. Talk to people with some respect. Treat people the way that you would want to be treated. Foster a good work environment. If you're like, that's the part that really gets me, because when people love working for you or working under you, the job that they do just supersedes the way that you would probably imagine. Have you ever just worked for someone and just love being under their supervision, like you did a better job? You like
Absolutely.
going to work. It made a difference. It makes a difference in the company. It makes a difference in your work output. It makes a difference to whatever customer service that you're offering. It's just a better place. Why wouldn't you want to be the good boss?
Right.
Why everybody want to be the hard nose? Who wants to be a boss that your people are afraid of you? That's almost like, who wants to be the parent and your kids are afraid of you?
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? Can you
Yeah.
have some respect for people?
And Kimberly says, also, Tori, I wouldn't be surprised if that woman was really wanting you to speak up because she also had a story.
I thought that same thing.
Whew.
I thought that same thing. I thought, and you know what? She does have a story, because how many of us don't? Let's be honest about that. How many of us who do not have a story where someone who was over us in a supervising position did not treat us the way that we need to be treated? Now, some people, and in some cases, in some jobs, now see, I haven't had any jobs that I felt like were so prestige that I couldn't cuss an MF out. Because I'm going to say F you and I'm going to keep it moving. But you can't do what I do. You understand? Everybody can't do that thing that I do. Like, I really can say F you and have.
Yeah.
But I've also had some BS jobs. And there's no way that I'm going to have a BS job and you're going to treat me like, some crap. No way. Because if I already feel like I'm not above working in certain situations and places, and then you're going to try to make me feel less than, I'm getting ready to let you know, and I'm getting ready to go, because this little bit of change, homegirl going to find a way. We going to eat some soup and potatoes, but until I find something else. But I'm not getting ready to stay in that position. But there are people who, they worked. They got their degrees. They made it to these levels and positions, and that is what they wanted. That was their plan, or that is a career path that they like. And then you bounce into someone who wants to be like, put the brakes on it. You ain't all that. Just because everybody like you in this office and the students like you, let me, they want to bring you down. You ain't all that.
Yeah.
And they doing that because they're not all that. They don't know how to be all that. And they want to bring you down. And then they want to put more work on you and not pay you for it. Black women can't ask for the money that they should be getting for all of the jobs that they're doing. So we got to find ways of encouraging a dialogue about workplace issues and
Mm-hmm.
find a way of, like you say, anonymously
Mm-hmm.
being able to get in there and speak in ways that we can speak. You got to. What's going on with Precious Pearl?
Precious Pearl says anonymous counseling is a great idea, but how many employers care enough to make such resources available? In all kinds of industries, from entertainment to education to aviation, you're disposable. Woo.
You're right.
Mm,
So, and in saying, and guess what? We
mm,
know this to be true. We
mm,
absolutely know this to be true.
mm,
They don't. There's just not anything to make them want to do this. Number one, they'll lose a lot of executives
mm.
that look like them.
Yeah.
Number one, and then they have to create a position, another paid position to make sure this is done. So that's money. So they're thinking about that bottom line.
Yeah.
And so it's a continuous cycle of, oh well, you got to suck it up. You got to suck it up or leave. And
Right.
and and to me, I feel like, what about that woman who's in that position? Like I said, there's going to be people who like their job, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to let this person force you out of your career, so you end up letting them win. There's people who have that attitude too, and those are the ones who learn to face their bully in a particular way. They learn to face them and they learn to work within that space, but that still doesn't make it easy. That still doesn't erase it. You still have to have in the back of your mind that this person is still always looking at you in a certain way. You know, you're still replaceable. So that still has to be in the back of your mind, and that's no way to necessarily work. You know,
Right. Right.
the only importance that I feel like this conversation actually offers is, let it be a sounding board. I
Mm-hmm.
hope that you have someone that you can talk to about it, and you can be like, guess what this da 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 did today.
Yeah.
I hope that you have that. I hope you have a sounding board that you can get that off your chest, get
Mm-hmm.
it off, get it out, and not internalize it to the point that it drives you to a depression that makes you consider doing anything that wouldn't be good for yourself and your family and loved ones. That's all that I could say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Landon says, while on the clock, head to the sky. Yeah, that's how baby ready to go. Right. That's
Hmm.
how I interpreted that message. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
But
Woo.
it's crazy. This has been a very great conversation, and I just want to encourage people because as I think back on my personal experience of not speaking up, I just encourage people to speak up and just know that things will work out. But in my case, I was like, I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna pay these bills. It's just me and my son. I gotta take care of my son. I'm just thinking about the bills. I'm thinking about all of this. But I just wish that I would have spoke up and just let the chips fall where they may. I was just too concerned about them losing their jobs and losing their livelihood. Not even it was literally affecting my health to the point, like I said, my pressure was so high. My doctor was concerned whether or not I was going to have a stroke or something. And I'm like, oh my god, my levels were just too, it's too high. It's like you could have had a stroke, right? You do
Yeah.
know that.
And
So
and
I
and,
just yeah, go ahead.
and then and then oftentimes, it's related to strength. Like, we actually will have a hashtag, and we have it. Silent strength.
Mm,
Silent strength. You know? But we need to break the silence.
mm,
That's what we need to do. So
yeah,
that's what this conversation aimed to do. It aims to just raise awareness and create a movement for change. And at the same time, we can honor the life of Antoinette Candia-Bailey. Say that name and honor that name. I don't know what is going to happen with the case, we'll have to you know, stay involved, make sure that we are paying attention. But
Yeah.
there's just a lot of that going on. It's been going on. It will continue to go on. And if you had to tell, because a lot of us, well, I speak for myself. I have a daughter. We have daughters. What are we telling our daughters and our nieces? And what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, that's good. What would I tell my younger self? Oh, I would tell my younger self that it's okay to not want to fit in. Because sometimes I know my younger self, I always wanted to fit in. I always wanted to people to like me. It's okay not to fit in. It's okay to be different. It's okay that not everybody's gonna like you. And that's the things that I would tell my younger self. I'm now telling my son. Like it's okay to stand out. And like there are kids like his peers that like they look at you crazy because you're excelling and doing well in school. But I said, listen, it's okay to be smart. It's okay to be intelligent if you got to do it by yourself. So don't worry about other people. The people that are supposed to be in your life will be there, and the ones that don't, they don't fall off. So I just wish that I didn't try to fit in, wanting everybody to like me. And let me tell you, and let me say this: it was to the point where you know how they say to turn the other cheek, and I wasn't speaking up. Like some of
Yeah, we're always taught that.
yeah, some of the main people that was treating me so bad. I'm this person. I've always been this person. Like if I'm the person that go out to get lunch, like you can give me your money to get your lunch, but guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pay for it all. And they were like, Tori, and I just felt like, well, maybe if I do this, maybe it won't be as bad. But no, that didn't happen.
Mm-mm. You can't
Just being
you
kind.
certainly can't buy friends. You can't,
Yeah,
and you can't buy peace. You can't
right,
do that.
right. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna still be kind, even though I'm being mistreated. I'm just still gonna still be kind to them. But no, that ain't work. Because I remember there was one particular time where there was a young lady and she said, I don't need nothing from you. Why you being nice? Why you got to be nice all the time? I was just like, oh my God.
You know, we have to consider that there are people who didn't grow up in an environment that way, and number one, they're not motivated to be that way. You're going to have people motivated in different ways.
Yeah.
You got people who were not raised in kindness, so they don't know how to be kind. And then you've got people who were raised in incredible unkindness, and just to kind of to be different,
Mm-hmm.
they've gone the exact opposite, and they're overkind. So that happens a lot.
I think
But
that's me. I'm over.
it happens. But for us, like I said, we're always taught to be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, brush it off.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. But what I do want to say is I feel like you have to set up your boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
know what they are, find ways of decompressing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, find that ear, that sounding block. Find ways of meditation. Find things to do that you like when you're off the clock that could bring you a peace of mind, whether that's some form of exercise or yoga or meditation or music, art, whatever that is. Find that peace, because you're already not getting it in the workplace. So
Mm-hmm.
don't take that home and think about it and harp on it. Listen, it's going to be facing you again when you get back to work. And as I say what I'm saying, it still breaks my heart because I hear myself saying, this is how you deal with this. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh my God.
So it's a crazy cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy cycle. And everybody can't take it. But they push this lady to her breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what hurt me. And like I said, I don't know anyone who could hear of Antoinette Candia-Bailey's story and not talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
And I need us to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it and create spaces for people to share with you. Create that space. Be that ear for someone.
Right.
I don't know what kind of movement can be started around this. I don't know. I really don't. But see this silent strength, this turning the other cheek. Oh, that's just or that. Oh, that's just how she is. You know that's how she is. You ever hear that? Or you know that's how he is. Oh, he just like that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
How many of us know people who, oh, that's just how she is. That's just how he is.
Yes. Yes. And people say that about themselves. Oh, that's just how I am.
Well, when the people say that about themselves, believe it.
And run.
Yeah. And hopefully that's not your boss, your supervisor, or anybody in your workspace. Now, if we're talking about coworkers and things of that nature, it's a totally different thing. You know, we're going to deal with that differently. But you're talking about, hey, I like my job. I need my job. We live in America. Ain't shit in America free.
Yeah.
You got to have money to live here.
Mm-hmm.
So you going to need some work.
Yeah.
And so people are thinking about that. And then also you're talking about people who are in positions and they're making, pretty good salaries. And they're thinking like, I'm getting ready to leave this job, making this salary because this woman, this man is forcing me out, is bullying me out.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to get work somewhere else? Because guess what? This is your supervisor. They're not getting ready to give you a good recommendation. So where you going to go? What you going to end up doing? Degreed up. You get ready to be at Chick-fil-A with your masters. You get ready to go from high salary, close to six figures, to like making less than 30 grand a year. That's what you get ready to do. You gonna be able to do that and take care of kids? Can you downscale your life to do that? Should you downscale your life to do that? There's just so many things to think about. So I can see the depression that this woman was spun into. 49 years old. That is so young. She didn't even get to 50 yet. 50s are so wonderful. You know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to think about.
It is.
There's a lot.
It really is.
I could see her mom and her family, her friends being proud to say, yeah, she's at Lincoln University,
Yes.
But y'all don't even know what she's going through to make that salary,
right,
to have that position, for someone to want to peg her down.
That's the sad part. Man. Whew.
All right, y'all.
This was heavy. This was heavy for me.
It's heavy for all of us. It really is. I don't know anyone who could be listening to this and not feel like it's heavy.
Yeah.
Silent workplace battles. It's been Talking Out Tuesday with Tori and Tanya. Have these conversations outside of listening to what's going on in the media, what's going on podcasts. We get media so many different ways now, Tori, so many different ways. Which is why I feel like we need to be talking to each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Conversations like this are so relevant and necessary.
Yeah, they matter.
And that was, to hear that so many people sent you private messages, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I couldn't read. I didn't really want to read too many of them because we live in a small town.
Yeah.
And I got a couple from people who live in this town. And then there's people who, because it's the internet, so there are people who live other places. But like I said, just reading them,
yes,
they're all the same.
Mm.
They're all the story of Antoinette. And they called her Bonnie, by the way. Antoinette, Bonnie, Candia-Bailey.
Yeah.
They all sound like Bonnie's story. They all sound like Tori's story. They all sound like your story.
Mm.
Lady who's sitting at your desk right now, who got a boss in an office across from you right now, who has no respect for you right now. It
Mm.
happens. But I'll say this to anyone who gets the opportunity to hear it, and I know that some of them are listening because I said that I will be having the conversation today. And they can't be on here and they can't share what they want to share, which is why they sent me, you know, messages.
Yeah.
I want to say to you that I'm sorry for what you're going through, number one, but I do respect that you have not taken it to a level of harming yourself because it is not worth that. And if you do feel that it is worth that, again, I will say to you, find a way out, find a way home, find a way home if you can. And everyone doesn't have that too is easier said than done because everyone doesn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
They don't. Some people don't have a home. Some people don't have supportive parents. And again, if you're the breadwinner in your family and you got kids, you can't go home with your kids and this, that, and the other. You got 2, 3 kids. You got a husband or whatever the case may be. You could lose your house, your mortgage. You've got car payments. You know, you've got a big salary job, but you've got a big salary life as well. You've got things that you got to pay for. This is America.
Mm.
You gonna pay to be American.
Yes. Oh my.
You gonna pay to be American. People used to look at it like the land of milk and honey, and there'd be people living in other countries, and you see the migrant situation right now. So many people wanting to get in the country, and that's always been, and that will always be. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get here, you have to find a way to make for yourself. I'm not saying it's the most easy, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's the most difficult, but
Right.
there will be challenges. So if you are in this challenge right now,
Right.
I say to you that I hope that you make it through this challenge.
Mm.
You can. You absolutely can.
Right.
But if it comes to a point that you feel like you can't, then you seek some help. There's
Yep.
help hotlines out here. There are places that you can go and people that you can talk to. Please, please get it. That's all I got to say on it, Tori.
Absolutely.
There's
Can we
there's
see
no.
that last comment from is Lemonade Lexus? The very last comment. Lemonade Lexus says employees need to know work is not a place to harass people because that's what I'm thinking. They said the bully. That's what the bully thinks. They need their jobs, so I can mess with them. People may react differently and harm others on the clock or after work. And the part, the after work part, what stuck out to me as well. I've actually ran into people outside of work, and I'm like, you know what? This is an opportunity where I can really go out by saying, no, I'm gonna let it slide. But there are some people still feel the need or think it's okay to bully you outside of the workplace.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
actually happens.
You better not roll up on me, and we ain't on the clock, man, woman, or child.
But I just kept my peace and just went on. But and then there was one person I ran into probably I want to say about 2 months ago. Mind you, I hadn't worked at this place in years, and this person came up to me and said, "Hey, Tori." And one thing about me, I'm a loving and a kind person, but one thing I cannot do, I can't be fake with you. That's just something that I can't do. And they said to me, "Hey, Tori, how you been?" Like talking like we cool. And I'm
Mhm.
like, "I'm fine. I'm good." Well, how's life is good. And they
Child.
want to continue to talk. I was like, "Well, good to see you. Take care. And I walked off and left them standing there.
Right.
I have not forgotten. I forgave you, but I have not forgotten how you treated me.
Hmm.
So some people have the thing. I hate when people do this, but they act like you're supposed to forget that. It never. It's as if it never happened. It happened,
Right.
but
Or they want to show a different face out in public.
of course.
Yeah.
But I wasn't having it. But so I encourage, because we went over time today. I just encourage the individuals out there that are going through this. Please speak up. Do not suffer in silence. Tell someone that you can trust about what you're going through, and
Hmm.
don't let it fester like it did me. Because like I said, I let it get to the point where I internalized everything, and it affected me. It made me ill.
Hmm.
And don't let it get to that point where it's making you ill.
Right.
And another thing I did is Dorita said, sure enough, because it ain't nothing but air and opportunity.
Come on, Doretha. Come on, cousin.
Not air and opportunity.
Come on, cousin. Meet me outside. Meet me
You know what?
outside. Listen, I wanted to have the conversation, and I'm happy that we can have a little bit of laughter
Yeah,
because it's a lot of that too.
yeah,
Just know there's several ways that you can look at it. You can look at like, hey, you know what? I am all that. It's too bad that I intimidate her so much that she has to act that way. There's several ways that you could deal with it, but everybody's going to be different.
yeah,
But you can look at the fact that you know that you intimidate this person, and you know that they trying to push you out of your job, and
yeah,
you know that you're not going to let them. And so you go to work when you have to go to work. You do your job and you do your best job when you're there. And when you're not there, you're not giving a flying filth about them and not thinking about them at all. Some
right,
people can do that.
right,
I
right.
want to encourage you to have friends like me and talk to people like me, an auntie like me, a cousin like me, a sister like me, because I tell you that.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be easy. And sometimes it's, like I said, sometimes it might be easier said than done.
mm-hmm,
And then sometimes you can't listen to a person like me. And I
yeah,
tell you why, because I've been honest about this. I've never had a job that I felt was so important or that I liked that much that I would do that. I just haven't. I've had some bullshit ass jobs that wasn't really paying a whole lot of money. So I will say bump all y'all in a minute. Like, it was never a question. But I've also not had people treat me that way. And I know it's largely because they know I don't give no flooring filths about it. I'll be up out of here.
yeah,
You gonna appreciate me or you gonna not.
yeah, yeah,
You gonna appreciate me or not. It's not that no one else can do the job. Everybody's replaceable. Everybody die and see if they don't fill your position.
you're
So
right,
it's not that you're irreplaceable. It's not that.
right,
But you ain't gonna talk to me any kind of way either.
right,
You
right.
ain't gonna just make me feel any kind of way either. I don't
Mm,
want to be like, why should I be at work and at odds with my boss? Why should my boss have an attitude with me? You walk in the office and don't speak. How you gonna be my boss and don't tell me good morning or vice versa? It's like we having some kind of little petty schoolgirl thing or school kid thing. That
yeah,
sounds utterly ridiculous to me.
right,
Like
right.
I cannot understand that.
Lemonade Lexus says, I worked at an all male place and a white male was threatening our black manager to pow him. Fast forward, he ended his life with a pow pow. So he was capable of harming all of us. Woo.
Wow. And that is dangerous too.
Mm. Wow. Whew. I'm lost for words.
That is dangerous too.
Mm.
I I know, Tori. I know we're talking about. There was someone. I gotta bring this up because this was in my message. This was someone who messaged me. about Antoinette's story here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me not pull it up on screen, but let me pull it up so that I can read it. I want to read this exchange a little bit because everybody's got different takes. I mean, it can be facts, it can be your feelings, whichever one it need to be. But people are talking about it. So she was talking about the fact that Antoinette had taken her life. She was like, dang, her love killed her, all that bullying, even after disclosing her mental status. Dang, does the soul get pardoned? You know? And I said, I'm saying it's horrible. You know? The
Mm-hmm.
horribleness of this is that the conditions she worked under are not unique and are more common than discussed. And she said, I'm still on the fact that black alumni are now outnumbered. Where they were they in clearing house mode and ran her off the edge? I mean, 36 100 evaluation. So like that DEI and them getting rid of people or trying to get rid of people or forcing people out, that's a thing. But what I wanted to get to, because she had a comment in here, let me see, because this is a pretty big exchange. Okay, so she goes on to say that she doesn't think, she says suicidal folks write short notes. Long letters are for those who expect to see change. That's the part that I wanted to bring up.
Ooh.
Because
Ooh.
Antoinette wrote a very long exchange and she documented so many different things. And this particular person said she finds it a little different. She was like, I just don't understand. She said, suicidal folks write short notes. Long letters are for those who expect to see change. And I said to myself, well, I said, bumped by whom? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, who would bump her off in this situation? Because certainly I can't go into the thought to think that the president did that, if that's who she's having these altercations with, right? And she said, if the president's bold enough to pick at you, no telling. But I don't understand his motivation, because I feel like, you know, I don't feel like he's bold enough to do that. I feel like he's cowardly in the way that he's treating her. So that was the conversation, the interchange went back and forth. But the bigger thing for me is when she said she didn't believe that suicidal folks wrote long letters and that they look for change. The thing that I want to say for people who may be thinking that is that you have to understand too that people in academia and corporate America, and when they're experiencing things like this, they also know that they have to keep records.
Absolutely.
So, you can't think that they keep very detailed records of what's going on, because that serves as evidence and proof when you are documented. So, oftentimes, and that's why oftentimes a lot of women stay in these positions, because while all of this BS is going on behind the scenes, these women are documenting what is going on. They know that they should, and they are taught and trained to do so, right?
Right.
So that's where I went with that. But I thought it was interesting, and there might be people out here who feel like that. That's a totally different take, I know. But yeah, there's that.
Mm.
There's that.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. She just took that into a whole other spin. But did you read the email? Did you read some of the email?
Email. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was on
Yeah.
the show, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's in different places. I mean, you could have seen
I
it
read
different
the. I'm
places.
talking about. I read. I just got to let's watch the video that you sent me with Roland Martin. That's the one. And they showed the email exchange. Yes, and it was
Oh,
long
okay.
and thorough. And I think the last email that she sent. prior to her death was long and detailed, and I think they
Mm-hmm.
had that whole thing highlighted. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. And Doretha says, "That's right. Don't try to belittle me because we all grown."
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
And Lemonade Lexus says, God really protects us."
Woo.
Yes, 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 indeed. But Tony, we 20 minutes over.
Yeah, we get ready to go.
This was this is so good.
We get ready to get out of here. But I just want to say one thing about what Lemonade said here.
Mm-hmm.
She said, God really protects us. Yes, I get that. But there's some things that prayer just don't do, y'all. We want people to pray everything out. And that don't be the action, because prayer ain't helped this woman when it came to her life. You know what I'm saying? And these are some of the things that I say that we do to ourselves and we tell each other, and that's not a method of dealing with these issues. We telling them to pray about it, and that's not helping her. We telling her to be the better, bigger person. That's not helping her. We telling her to turn the other cheek. That's not helping her. You know? So I want us to create some environments where we feel like they can talk, they can release, they can find a way of dealing with that anxiety, talk to someone professional when they get into this state of depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got to find a way to create these spaces and foster a community of support. That's the only thing that I know, because I don't imagine it's going to change.
Yeah.
And just like we started this conversation out one way, we've come all the way back around 360, and everybody's story is the same.
Yeah.
So what we gonna do about it? But let's just give a little bit of honor, a little bit of respect to the family and loved ones, to Antoinette, Bonnie, they called her Bonnie, Candia-Bailey. Enough respect to her sister. Y'all talk about it. Talk about things. Conversations matter.
Yes.
All right, Tori.
All right, we out, y'all. Like I said before, my final thoughts is if you're in this situation, please speak up. Do not suffer in silence. Same time, same place, next Tuesday. And as Tanya mentioned earlier in the podcast, the name has been changed. Feelings of Facts Podcast. And we'll be back to do it all over again next Tuesday. Peace out, y'all, and enjoy the remainder of your Tuesday afternoon.
All right. Always good talking to Tori. Always, always. You heard the conversation. Thank you to everyone who decided to be a part of the conversation. I don't know the answers. I don't. But I know that we can talk. And I hope that we are willing to have those conversations. I hope that will help someone in some type of way. I hope that it does. Tori just told you guys that the name of the podcast has changed. Yes, it has. It is Feelings or Facts Podcast. Yes, Feelings or Facts Podcast, because everybody, absolutely everybody has feelings, and we're in these internet streets. People are talking. We receive media in so many different ways now. You've got to wonder. You've got to wonder, like, what am I listening to? Where am I getting my information from? How is this information useful to me? Are these facts? Are these just someone's feelings? Because there's a lot of people out here who have microphones, myself included, who have microphones. I'm not a journalist. I'm not. I don't pretend to be a journalist. Yes, I have a background in media, but I turned down lots of roles to be in front of the camera many, many years ago, many, many times. But we live in a time with technology where we can talk and we can share. And I do find it important for us to talk and share. But I do find it important for you to understand where you're getting your information from. You've got to question and you've got to know, like, are these feelings or are these facts? Are these people being vetted? Are they looking this information up? Or are they giving their feelings? Are they being honest enough with me and telling me that, well, this is how I feel and this is how we feel, and I just want to have this conversation? You need to know that. And there are times when you're going to be listening to things that are entertainment. And I got to be honest with you here too. I don't even know how much that mainstream media for me is so factual. Because oftentimes they've reported stories and we've heard stories about people and different news outlets and different methods of media, and they not be true. Just untrue information. So you've got to know for yourself what you're willing to look up. What facts are you willing to look up? What are your feelings? And that's what the podcast is going to be about, feelings or facts podcast. I'm MsTonya. I love talking with you guys. I love talking with Tori on Talk It Out Tuesday. And I'm going to get on out of here. But before we get out of here, I do something that I feel like we need to do. If you're suffering in any type of way, I hope you can take a moment. And I don't belittle your situation by saying this, but please do a little breath work. Center yourself. Make a better decision in the moment. If you're in a moment where you're not sure what to do, just stop and breathe. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. And I want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Didn't that feel great?